This is Amazing Grace, and Jesus, I sing for all that you have done for me. Good evening. First of all, I thank you for your patience. We'll find out what really happened with our guest if he's telling us the truth, because he's going to find out that I almost had a heart attack. Thank God, I'm able to just calm myself down. All's good. But joining me tonight, I'm Pastor Sherry Colby, by the way, the senior pastor here at Victory Worship Center, and also the host of Amazing Grace. Joining me back, he was on my 5th show. That was August of 2020. And I tell you, I was so moved by the show. I actually watched it again and forgot half the things he had said. And I was so interested, just go back and watch episode number 5 of Amazing Grace. But joining me today is my pharmacist. He's someone I have so much respect for. I trust him with so much of my life, honestly, I really do. I call him my friend, Damien Simmons. I'm so glad you finally made it.
Thank you. I'm just glad to be here.
They told me you're on Caribbean time.
That is a natural thing. We cannot help it. It's more of a relaxing, it'll be fine, don't worry, we're okay.
You talk so calmly on the phone. I'm thinking, this is a live show at 8. It goes on the dot.
Oh my gosh.
You know,
I'm
really a fanatic about time.
Oh my gosh.
So now you've learned something about your friend over here.
It's so sad that most Caribbean people, and it's in their nature, in order to be places on time, my watch is 15 to 20 minutes on time, past the time all the time.
But you were on time the last time you were here.
Because my staff pushed me out the door.
Oh, I see.
So if it's during the day, you have a full crew, and they can say, hey, don't forget you have to be here at 12, so I have to leave at like 11:30.
Okay, so what happened that you're so late?
Oh my gosh.
Ask for forgiveness.
I asked for forgiveness, but the most bizarre thing that always happens to us is that we always have something at the end of the day. Like, it's that person, I just got here, or hey, can you guys wait? I'm down the street, or hey, one of the funniest jokes.
No, you're supposed to say, no, I'm a celebrity tonight.
One of the funniest jokes we had was an older gentleman that had an emergency. And he said, hey, can you wait for me? And we waited for a half an hour and he didn't show up. So we were leaving, and he calls our emergency number and says, you gotta come back, I gotta get this prescription for my wife. So I come back and I said, okay, well, I understand. We get back there, get his prescription out, and it's for hormone replacement. And I'm like, it's an emergency hormone replacement? And he looks at me and says, you don't know my wife. He said he needs to make sure that she is okay, because emotionally, if she doesn't have her hormones, she can be a wreck.
See, this is the difference I was trying to tell you from the last show, right? That Damien is so compassionate. I always say, if I've met anyone, our mission statement at Victory is, therefore it's God's chosen people, holy and, well, therefore it's God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved. Clothe yourself with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, patience, forgiveness, and love. And I always say that is who you are.
Oh, I try.
Okay, but just like you would wait around for that man, you work 12-hour days, and you would, what other pharmacy, they would just shut their window and say, sorry, you have to deal with your wife.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I honestly believe my mom and my grandmother always instilled in us that, you're here for a purpose, and usually it's to be in service. So if you're in service to something else, someone bigger than yourself, that's the vision you have every day. I wake up and say, oh my gosh. We had this joke. It's like trying to empty the ocean with a ladle kind of thing. And, first question that you have to ask as a guy is, what's a ladle? I was like, okay. It's a big spoon. Okay, I got it, big spoon. So you take that and you say, how can I empty the ocean? That's gonna take me forever. And that's how it is to be in service, to know that whatever I have to do is still not enough, and I still have more to do. There's somebody out there that needs me, that needs my assistance, my guidance, my help. And it happened to me as a kid, and it changed my life forever. And it made me realize that strangers care. And I think that's what God does.
Watching the show, I want you to tell that a little bit of a story. But I'm telling you, don't think everybody who's a patient, not a patient, what are they called? What are we called? We're not patients. What are we called when we come get our prescriptions?
Patients.
Oh, we're patients. Okay,
yeah.
Doctor Damien. Okay. But I remember one time that there was a lot going on, and you came all the way, you live in Jupiter or whatever, you came all the way down on a Sunday to help me out, to do what you have to do.
Absolutely.
Now that's compassion, right? So it's amazing. Yeah, tell your story about when you were a little boy and your mom. That's a great story. That one needs to be told again.
Okay,
Why you have the heart you have today.
When you come from another country, you feel indebted. Like you feel like, wow, this is amazing. This place is beautiful. And my mom brought us here because she called it the land of milk and honey, because you could do and be anything you want to be that you can set your mind to. And she always instilled that in us. And I remember as a little kid, my mom worked as a LPN nurse over Palm Beach, and she catered to the upper scale patients that couldn't leave the home really. Okay. So she would, change their IVs and cater to them. And because of her being able to go to their homes, she would go at 3 o'clock in the evening to make sure send us off to school and make sure she would be home when we got home, and then we would have to take her to work. Well, my father wasn't working at the time, and my father, being from the Caribbean, we always had these little teeny cars, so he always wanted to buy this huge, Lincolns, and we always used to laugh because he always had this Lincoln where the hood was from here to it was, we could never see over the hood. We never understood how he drove the car. And because it's such a big car, it drank a lot of gas. And my mom was the only one working, and my father, we got home from school and said, hey, we got to take your mother to work. We all get in the car, my twin brother and I, and my little sister. And he said, as he's driving, hey, hun, the engine light is on saying that we need gas. And my mom said, don't worry, I get paid tonight. It was a Friday, no big deal. And dropped her off, and we went home, and at 11 o'clock at night, my father would wake us up and say, hey, we got to go pick up your mom over Palm Beach. We lived at that time close to downtown West Palm, and we had to drive over Palm Beach and then drive up the coast to go to the Lake Worth part of Palm Beach. And now it's a little bit past Donald Trump's place there, and there's an area right over the bridge on the side of Lake Worth. And we went to pick her up, and it started raining really, really bad. So now my father has the AC on, picks up my mom, and he says, okay, we really got to get gas. It's 11:30 at night over Palm Beach, and I want to say it was 1988. So I was this little kid, 7, 8 years old, and she's like, yeah, I got money, and she pulls out a check on a Friday night over Palm Beach, foreigners, and we're starting to go back, and the car, there's a point where you go to over Palm Beach where it comes really close to the ocean, and you can see all the cruise ships out there, and it's pouring down rain, but you can see the lights from the ships, and it looks amazing. And the car drifts to a stop. And we're looking at each other, and it's raining, and I remember it vividly like it was yesterday. Windshield wipers are chunk, 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 and all of a sudden, as the car drifts to a stop, the AC current turns off, and it's just blowing hot air now. And we're just sitting there for 2 minutes. Nobody's saying anything. My brother and I look at each other, and we're like, Mom, the car stopped. Yes, I know. And we're sitting there for about another 10 to 15 minutes, and we start to get nervous, and my brother and I try not to cry, and it was like, are we gonna be okay? And my mom said, what are you worried about? I was like, we don't know what to do, and it's pitch. We just see the lights from the ship, and she said, do you believe in God? Of course we do, Mom. You take us to church 4 times a week. And she says, if you believe in God and you want something to happen, you close your eyes and you pray, and God will let it happen. So that's what we did. We held hands, and we prayed for about 5-10 minutes, and we clenched our eyes real tight and prayed. And when we got done praying, we literally opened our eyes and started looking outside, thinking the sky was going to open and something was going to happen. So after about another 10 or 15 minutes, we're sitting there, and we don't know what to do. We're starting to get nervous again, and my mother said, you need to believe, and you need to ask it in Jesus' name, and it will be given unto you. And we did that, and we're still waiting, and then all of a sudden, this car pulls up. And at this time, my brother and I were really huge car buffs, and you're talking 1988, so this was a Jaguar XJ, whatever, a 2-seater convertible. Never seen one before. From the Caribbean, you don't see those kind of cars. And this guy, and he was red like a lobster, white hair, and in my mind's eye, every time I try to picture his face, I see Donald Trump.
Okay.
But he looked just like that, white hair, really red, and his wife was in the passenger seat, and they looked like if they got up and walked, $100 bills would fall out their pocket. So he asked if we were okay, and my father's like, we ran out of gas, and didn't know what to do, and he said, well, come on. He waved my father over. My father's 6'3". He's about 170 pounds, and there's this little 2-seater. The guy tells his wife to scoot over. She's in the middle console. My father gets in with his knees in his chest, and they take off. At the time, we're trying to figure out, okay, they're going to help us. But wait a minute, we don't have any money. So after about 20 to 30 minutes. They come back, and right when they come back, the rain lets up. And my father gets out, they open the trunk of the car, and he has this big 5-gallon thing of gas, and he's pouring gas in there. And the guy pulls up next to us, and he tells my mom, wow, you have a beautiful family. My mom's like, hey, listen, give me your address. I can pay you once we get this check cash. And he looks back, and he sees my brother and my little sister with myself sitting in the back seat. And he looks at us, and he said, man, beautiful family. And he looks at my brother and I, and he says, hey, you believe in God? Yes, sir. He says, do you believe in angels? Yes, sir. And he says, today I was your angel. And maybe someday you could be somebody else's angel. And he gives my mother a $50 bill in 1988. And he said, you take care. And that day I was like, who was that guy? Why would he do that for us? We're not even from this country. And that day my brother and I learned that strangers care. And that's your mission. And if everybody believed and did that, this world would be amazing.
So you walk into work every week saying, I'm going to be somebody's angel today.
Absolutely.
And you said that to me one day when I was
Absolutely.
going through a lot of
Turmoil.
trauma and drama. He knows a
Turmoil.
lot of what I go through. You said, I think I've been sent to be your angel.
Yep.
And so you always take care of me, so it's so good. My personal angel over there.
I try.
Well, as we recap a little bit, you're married to Nadine, who's a wonderful woman. If you go to Atlantis Pharmacy, it's Atlantis Pharmacy on JFK Drive. And you've been married how many years?
Oh my gosh, this shows my age. We are going on our 20th anniversary in June.
Yeah, because last time you were
So
here.
I got married when I was 7.
Yeah. The last time you were here was 19, so I was going to help you out. Yeah. And how many kids you have?
5.
Okay, what are the ages?
Oh my gosh. 17, 15, 14, then we dropped down to 6 and 5.
Okay.
And it's the funniest joke ever when you tell somebody you have that many kids. My mother is one of 13, and my father is one of 6. So having a big family for us is just a norm. And it's so funny when you tell somebody you have that many kids, and they're like, well, how many baby mothers do you have? I was like,
yeah,
one.
right.
Like, what are you
Baby
talking
mamas, the baby mama thing, right?
Yep. I said, one woman's good enough for me. I'm good.
She's great. I think you guys are such a perfect match.
And we always crack jokes because we only breed athletes.
Yeah. I know, and some of your kids actually play sports with the golfer that Tiger Woods.
My daughter played soccer with Tiger Woods' daughter for 5 years.
And they're friends with the kids.
And it was always funny too because at the time we were in Palm Beach Gardens, of course, and I saw him there, but you know how it is when you see somebody like, that almost looks like Tiger Woods. That's so bizarre. And I'm sitting there, and at that time, because it was travel soccer for little kids, and my daughter at the time was like 7. And my daughter's speeding around, running around all over the place. And he just kind of scoots up. We're sitting on the ground, you know what I mean? So Tiger Woods sitting on the ground, what are we doing? He comes over and he just leans over to me and he says, hey, your daughter? She's pretty good. And I looked at him, I said, how you know my daughter? And he was like, because the only other chocolate out there is mine. And I looked at him, and then he just started laughing. And he just, I'm like, this guy's talking to me. He's like, oh, wow. And he was just such a down-to-earth.
Yeah.
A lot of times we think they're bigger and larger than life, and he's just as normal as everybody else with issues and problems and trying to figure it out like everybody else.
Everybody's in the same boat, right? And what you have
and
to
it was
think.
always amazing like that, too.
For sure.
My wife would always, we were in this exclusive, travel team, so my wife would always Google all the parents, and I was like, oh, my God, this person lives in a $3 million house. They live in a $21 million house, and so I would always tell them, please don't let nobody look us up. But it was always fun.
Yeah.
It was just hilarious. So
Amen.
Always good. So
one thing I love about, before we get into the main topic we're going to talk about tonight, Atlantis Pharmacy is a happy place. You go in there, everybody's happy, everybody works together. Sean, the other pharmacist, he's amazing. I love Kathy. Yeah. I love seeing your wife. It's just, you walk in and it's such a great place. And I always remember when you first started,
oh my gosh.
You were struggling. And I went to my car and the Lord said, go back in there and tell him if he was to persevere, it's going to explode. And if you go into Atlantis Pharmacy today, it is packed. I mean, and the prescriptions are just lined up. And I'm so excited every time I come in and you can hardly talk to me.
We do about 300 prescriptions a day now. And we've Well, I'll tell you a quick story, which is even funnier too, because we were trying to, based on our topic, we're trying to help as many people as we can, and we were getting asked, hey, when are you guys going to be able to get the vaccine? I need to be vaccinated, can you help us? And we were told that we would get it like the first week of January. So we
Right.
prepared for that. We had the specialized fridge, we had the freezers, we did everything, we did all the paperwork. I have a great staff and an amazing crew that we can get anything done. I feel that there's nothing we can't do. And we wait. And we
Yeah.
wait. And then we're trying to help, and then I hear Publix got the vaccines. Okay, that's great. So I try to help a couple patients. Hey, let's try to get you in. At least you can get it now as quickly as you can. And we wait, and we wait, and we wait. And then we got our first shipment on April 1st after waiting for so many months.
Yeah.
And when we got it, we got 1,100 vaccines. And they asked us, hey, listen, we're going to send you this. We need to see if you can get rid of it in 2 weeks, and because that means that you can help more patients, and we'll send you another batch and what have you. Well, we did 1,100 vaccinations in 10 days.
Oh, wow.
And it was crazy. And the weekends were amazing because we have such a great crew. I even had my kids involved where we're giving out waters. We have people hanging out. Hey, you need anything? Relax, grab some coffee or tea.
Yeah, my grandson, you're giving him Cheetos, you're giving him anything he wants.
And we just came up the arm. So right now we just got our third shipment in, and we have sitting there, I want to say, over 3,000 more vaccinations that we can do right now. Someone would call or would make an appointment on our website. So it's very easy, and we're going to talk more about vaccines. But when we get talking about this, you tell me when.
I will.
I want to bring everybody in slowly. And then I want to have like a science class,
Okay.
simple science class, and then we'll get a little bit more sophisticated, because I don't believe you need to know the actual nitty gritty, but you always want to have the cliff notes, because the cliff notes will get you in the ballpark. Like, I have a better understanding, I understand what's going on, and now I can make an executive decision on what I need to do or what I want to do for myself or my family, and that's our goal. So
Okay.
people try to get down to the nuts and bolts. Like, I don't need to know how the engine is made. I just need to know where do I put the gas in so I can drive it. You know what I mean?
Well, one more thing about your pharmacy is that you also now, your pharmacy is the one for Palm Beach Atlantic University. They do like their internship there. That's why there's so many like people in white coats, right?
Yep. We usually have about 2 students a month where we teach them how to be pharmacists, for lack of a better word. And we also have an amazing professor, Dr. Erin Dorville. She is our associate professor that our location is her teaching site. So we also teamed up with JFK Hospital, and then we also teamed up with their residency program, and we just started a residency program at our location. So what that means is that they get an extra year of schooling where we kind of help them specialize. Awesome. And working with the physicians in their residency program is amazing, because physicians, our biggest thing is they don't fully understand what pharmacists are capable of what we can do. When I was a kid, I grew up in a pharmacy, and when I was a kid, if you came to me and told me pharmacists would be vaccinating, I would laugh hysterically. And there's no way a pharmacist would even attempt or want to do that. Now, you go to a physician, they say, go see your pharmacist, let them vaccinate you.
Get your shots, right? That's so true.
A complete 180, and I just think it's amazing what we can do and what the world can do. And the hardest thing about life is that it's always changing and always moving. I always tell people it's like that ocean out there, I go out there to the area where our car ran out of gas, and I look, and it looks so different, and yet it's the same. And it's one of those things that's hard to comprehend, but once you see it, it's so breathtaking, and you have such a appreciation. I call it gratitude. I believe that's the most important thing. If you have gratitude, man, it's world-changing.
As it's for people who didn't see you on the first show, I want to establish so much of who you are. You also go to Tallahassee.
Yes.
And tell them what you do when you go to Tallahassee.
I'm a part of the Florida Pharmacy Association. So as one of the higher members, one of the things we do is we take students with us, and we talk to our congressmen. So we talk to senators and representatives, and we tell them what the issues are, and we tell them, hey, there's some things that is happening in the medical field or in the medical world, and here's how we can help if you let us help. And that's how we were able to start vaccinating in the first place. And like for me, especially in the state of Florida, when they gave Florida all these vaccines, one of the amazing things that I thought was uncomprehendable was that they didn't think of us first. So if you had a state and you want to get all your people vaccinated, just give it to the pharmacies and tell them, hey, let's set up people and don't just give it to one, give them to all. Because nobody wants to go to a pharmacy where they don't care about you, or you're a number, or they tell you to call back, or they can't help you. And that's how we got started as an independent, was because I had two colleagues of mine that realized that it was a need for us independent guys as opposed to the chains. The chains are very good and they're very important, but what ends up happening when those chains get overwhelmed, they don't care anymore. You know, I always tell people when they say, I'm burnt out. You ever heard somebody say they're burnt out from work? They're not burnt out from work, they lose their purpose. What are you here to do? They lose that, they can't remember. And because of that, they're angry now and everything upsets them. So you could come in and say good morning, don't tell me good morning, oh, I want to talk to you. And I always tell students, what kind of pharmacist do you want to be? Do you want to be the guy that says, hey, what do you need? Hey, how can I help you? Come over here and talk to me. Or you want to be the one like, no, call your doctor. I don't know, I'm on the phone, I'm busy, don't talk to me. Those kind of things. And people see them all the time. And you can tell the difference. So it just depends on what your purpose is and what you're trying to do.
Well, that's one thing I always said when I first started going to you, is that it's like going back in time. It's like going back to the pharmacist when, like, I was a kid, where you're like family. And you know what, because you came in so late, I'm just going to give you some instruction.
Go ahead.
Can you look into the camera and not just over here?
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the people in the audience.
He really does care about you. They're watching live, all right?
Sorry, looking at the people in the audience.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So now, if you want to know more about, how amazing his journey has been, please go back and watch episode 5. It says Damien Simmons. Well, I have you here today, and you know what we're going to talk about, because there's so much going on about the COVID shot. Now, I was an adamant disbeliever. I did not want the shot. I said I wasn't getting the shot, and my husband signs me up. And I'm like, I don't want it. I don't want to do this. So I walk in a couple weeks ago, whatever it was. And I'm like, I'm running to your wife. I'm like, I don't want to do this, And so Damien comes out and he starts explaining how he just gave it to his mother, how important it was for me to do this. And there's this long line of people with the lady getting all your information. It was like, all the rules. And with that, Damien's like, come here, And he gets out that shot and he gives me a shot. He goes, it's very important that you do this. Now, I would say it's the question to do or not to do, because it's got to be a decision people make. So we have 3 choices: the Moderna, the Pfizer, and the Johnson & Johnson. Okay, and so I want you to talk a little bit about the controversy. I know you're doing the Pfizer, right?
Yeah. And we just got some Moderna in about a week ago as well. Got about 500 shots of that. The controversy, it's such a great area when you talk about controversy, because you always have to ask yourself if it's truly a controversy. And a lot of times, unfortunately, the media can exacerbate something and make it seem a lot more scarier than it really is. There was about, 6 women, I believe, that had gotten the Johnson & Johnson, and they had some blood clots. But here's the thing. Blood clots for women, unfortunately, is almost a way of life. You can get the same thing by taking birth control or taking certain medications. And the thing is, I want to say, and I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm going to just tell you roughly the numbers that I think it is. I think they gave the Johnson & Johnson to like either 500,000 women or so, and 6 had gotten blood clots. But think of how many women get birth control. Do you know how many get blood clots?
No, tell us.
If you give 10 women birth controls between the age of 25 and 45, at least 3 of them will get blood clots.
Really?
Yep. So those numbers are staggering compared to 6 out of 500,000.
Okay.
So that for the media to exacerbate it so much, it made everybody nervous. But there's risk, of course, in anything. I tell people all the time, you could drown drinking a glass of water, but nobody thinks about that. If that flap doesn't close, it goes right into your lungs. Guess what happens? You just drown. And I also believe that if you're going to do something and you feel that maybe I have a pre-existing condition or something else I need to be concerned about, always talk to your physician or your pharmacist before taking it. So what I wanted to do was talk about the vaccine as a whole,
Okay.
how it works, what's going on with it, to get you guys in the mind frame so you can understand it better. And I like to think, I want you guys to see through my eyes. So,
Okay, because I'm telling everybody how much I trust you.
as a
All right,
pharmacist.
so you tell them.
So, well, let's start off slowly.
Okay.
Okay? And I see a multiple array of ages here. So, first question you have to ask is, anybody know anybody that died of polio? Anybody, one person that was sick and died, two that died of polio? So nobody else. So that's still a good percentage, by the way. So anybody know anybody that got sick or died from smallpox? Smallpox? These are all vaccines that, because we vaccinated so much, it eradicated it pretty much. You don't ever hear about those things. And 50 to 80 years ago, that was a serious thing. And that's how vaccines work. So you have to understand that when you give a vaccination, it's literally trying to build up an immunity. So nobody has that. Think of it like the first giraffe. The first giraffe had a small, short neck, right? And throughout time, the giraffes with longer necks were able to eat the food that were up higher. So their generation got all the giraffes now have long necks. The short neck giraffe, anybody ever seen one? No. Same kind of thing with these different types of bad diseases and the reason why we have the vaccines. So that's the first thing you have to understand. And the second thing you have to understand is, I don't know if we have any baby boomers in here, any baby boomers out there, baby boomers. Then we have the, Generation X?
Yeah, isn't that one?
After?
Yeah, after.
After? And then, or how many, we have millennials. How many millennials? There's a lot of millennials now, right? So the thing is, every generation, I believe, gets better. They get stronger. They get smarter. They usually get faster, and everything gets easier. Like my son is 15 years old. I'm 6'1". He's 6'2.5", and he's 15. And he wears a size 11.5 shoe. I wear a size 11.5 shoe. I'm like, oh, and is he going to be taller than me? He's already taller than me. Mm-hmm. So how much taller is he going to get? And that's how things progress, because it kind of gets better and easier. With the new vaccines, which we're going to talk about, they use a totally different way to vaccinate. And the way to explain it in layman's terms, to keep it as simple as possible, think of it as if you're going to a third world country where there's fighting and shooting and Americans are not the most popular people there, and they give you a bulletproof vest. This is a bulletproof vest. Now, if you get shot, the chances of you surviving are a lot more if you have that bulletproof vest on. That's what the vaccine is. So now that we kind of understand generically what we're trying to do with these vaccines, let's talk about how they work and what they are. So I wrote some notes down, but I wrote it down in scribble, but I want to read you some things because I want to make sure that we all get a better understanding of it. So when you talk about vaccines, and the best way to understand vaccines is that vaccines, they prepare your immune system and getting it ready to fight off diseases or disease-causing organisms. We call them pathogens. So anytime something's getting ready to attack you and give you a disease or make you sick, it's called a pathogen. So that's the first thing you got to understand. So then a vaccine is introduced to the body so it can mimic the infection. So when it mimics the infection, it triggers the body to produce antibodies against the pathogen. So when it produces the antibodies, it allows you to fight it off without causing an illness. So that's most important. Most people say, I got the vaccine, then I got the disease. We actually had, out of the 1,100 people we had vaccinated already, we had 2 people that still got COVID. And the reason why, and they were like, oh my gosh, I got the vaccination.
Did they do both shots?
No, they got the first one.
Oh, the first shot.
Yeah, because we only did the first round. We're on our second round now. So for those people, and they got COVID. And they were pretty upset, and they were trying to figure out, and they called like, hey, I got the shot, and I got COVID. And I tried to explain to them that you are already exposed. You haven't built up enough immunity. Like the reason why you have to get 2 shots, by the way, I'm sorry, let me backtrack. The reason why you have to get 2 shots, because when you get the first shot, you're about 70 to 75% covered. The second shot, and most of the time when people get that second shot, that's when they start to feel the effects. You might get a major side effect, of course, is you get a sore arm from the shot.
The first one was a sore arm, but the second one, I mean, Pastor Craig got very ill.
The second one is a sore arm, and then what happens is your body is recognizing those foreign antigens. So when it's recognizing it, it's starting to fight it off. And as it fights First thing you have to understand, when you get exposed to something, you don't get sick when you get exposed. Because, okay, let's use numbers so we have a better understanding. When you get exposed to something, let's say somebody came and they had COVID and they talked to you in the face and they gave you 100 spores. You're not sick, nothing happens. 100 spores, who cares? Doesn't do anything, right? 100 spores is like giving a whale a Tic Tac. Just, nothing's gonna happen. But what happens is over the next few days, that 100 spores now turns into 100,000 spores. And you wake up and say, man, my throat feels a little sore, that's weird. I don't know what's going on. Then the next day, instead of 100,000, you have 500,000. Now your body says, hey, there's something going on. You need to, hey, by the way, something's going on. So what's the first thing you do when you have a foreign entity that you're trying to fight off? Your temperature is gonna go up, because that's how you get rid of these bad bugs, right? Temperature shoots up. So now you have 101, 103 temperature, because your body's saying, we gotta fight this off. And it's 500,000 of them now. And the next thing's gonna happen, it's gonna zap all of your energy, because all of your energy is going to make white blood cells to fight off this antigen, right? I gotta fight this thing off. So that's what happens. And then what happens is now is gonna build up mucus to keep it stuck in one area of your body, lungs, throat, wherever it is. And what happens is that it can get to be so much that it overwhelms you. And that's what actually kills you. So now said, what people are gonna be affected by this kind of stuff? New bodies, because they never experienced this before. So kids, babies, my professor used to say, be careful, because babies die fast. They're not used to this stuff. You know, I tell people like this, what knocks you out? It's not the blow you see coming, it's the blow that comes from the side that you're not expecting. And that's what happens. The next group of people that are gonna be affected besides the babies are the elderly. Why? I've been around for 82 years. I fought off everything from polio, you name it, I fought it off, and COVID killed me. Because I've been fighting stuff for years. My body's tired, it's not used to that. And then 500,000 spores, you know, I used to have one of my first bosses was old guy from New York, and one of the things he used to say, you know, he boxed in the Navy. So anytime something happened, I boxed in the Navy, you know, let's go. And as you get older, you still think you box in the Navy, but guess what? It's 500,000 of us. You're out. And that's the thing that people don't realize. So if you get exposed, you need to know a couple things you need to do is seek therapy if you feel like you've been exposed. So that means, I always tell people, get your chicken soup, drink as much fluids as you can, make sure your vitamin C is up high, your zinc, all the things your body needs to fight off any type of bad antigen that's being affected. So you gotta keep that in mind, that, okay, how do I fight all this stuff off? I tell people all the time, 2/3 of you is water. So if 2/3 of you is water, you need to keep flushing that water. So what I used to do with students, I would take a big cup, a big clear cup, like a cup from 7-Eleven, fill it halfway up with dirt, and then I would put it on their faucet and turn the water on slowly and let it overflow. And you come back in a few minutes, all that dirt is gone and you just got clear water. So think of it that way. If you can do that to your body, you'll be healthy for life. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And it's that simple. So now getting back to understanding how these viruses work, one of the other things that people don't realize, and this therapy, this type of technology is amazing. So one of the things that we understood as pharmacists, because we're also chemists, but the average person didn't understand was these new viruses, actually these new vaccines use what they call mRNA. So what that means, it stands for messenger RNA. So in the Bible, what do we call messengers? What were messengers called in the Bible?
Like the angel?
Angels. So that's how I think of it. This is an angel that's gonna help you protect and fight off everything. RNA, so when you think of RNA, think of it like, okay, we all know what DNA is, right? DNA is a double helix. RNA is like the single part of that. And RNA helps build and make the protein that makes the DNA. That makes sense? So these messengers RNA is how the vaccine gets into the body to help fight it off better. So all it does, and what makes it so cool, is that it gets in there and works on the protein part of it. So it doesn't allow it to get into the nucleus part of it. So what that means is that you don't have to worry about, oh, it changed my DNA and I'm different. I had all these
Yeah, I was
stories.
going to ask you that question because people have been saying that, oh, I can't take it because it's going to change my DNA.
Okay, the nucleus is the center, and then you got all this stuff around, the outer, the mitochondria, all this different stuff in there, right? And what happens is that all these things help make that cell. So it doesn't affect the inner part of the cell, just the outer part. But don't forget, that's how the virus gets you anyway. It doesn't get into your nucleus. You know, like, hey, I woke up and my husband wasn't the same guy. He was different. I got COVID, I'm different. No, It's nothing like that. It's all the symptoms. So what this does is help break up and stop the symptoms. So that's what's important. So understanding, RNA really stands for ribonucleic acid, right? So what that really means is that it's the nucleic acid that is used as a key metabolite for the process and the steps of protein synthesis for all living cells. And it carries the genetic information for many viruses. So think of it, it carries the genetic makeup. So it helps it be a virus. So if you can break that up, it's not a virus anymore. Does that make sense?
So you highly recommend people to take the shot?
Oh, absolutely. And here's the thing. If there's some people that are deathly afraid and said, I'm absolutely not going to do it.
That was me.
And I tell them all the time, if you think you can get sick and be okay, that is your prerogative. But how many people are you in contact with? So if you're out in the public, if you're in the public eye, if you talk to patients, if you talk to practitioners, if you talk to other people on a regular basis, sometimes a mask is just not enough. Are you going to affect somebody that you love? How's that going to affect you?
Okay, can I ask you something? Okay,
Yes.
I want to know, so you get these 2 shots, why do we have to still wear a mask? Are you a mask person? I never see you in a mask.
I am not a mask person, guaranteed, knock on wood, but I try to practice safe. I just made myself get my shot.
You got your shot?
I made myself.
How come you didn't get a shot?
Well, the reason why I didn't get it.
Be careful with watching your hitting your mic.
Sorry. The reason why I didn't get it at first was because I couldn't get enough for everybody. So I didn't want to take a spot of somebody that says, this is the phone call I would get. Hi, my husband and I need to get our shot. My husband can't walk. He just had 2 open heart surgeries. He had cancer 5 years ago. I had one of my breasts removed, and I can't even get on a list because every time I get on the computer to try to get on a list to get it, it's gone already.
Yeah.
And I've been trying for 3 months. And I said, where are you? She's like, I live in West Delray. And I said, can you get here? And she says, I can, but it will take me at least 2 days, because I have to set up for somebody to bring us. And I had one of my staff, Amanda Benson.
Oh my gosh.
She was a student of mine about 4 years ago, and she is a new mother, so she just works part-time. She came in and she said, I will go and give the shots.
Oh my gosh, see what I'm talking about? This place is amazing.
And we put her in charge, her and Dr. Aaron Dorval in charge of our vaccinations, and almost 3 times a week we go to somebody that can't come out and get their shot.
You may get a lot of calls now.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's our mission, because we understand. Because and I don't know if you saw this. I should have brought it with me. We just made a bunch of shirts that had our Atlantis Pharmacy logo, and the front of the shirt. And I'm big into sports, so I do a lot of football antigens and stuff like that. It says, it's not the big that eats the small. And on the back, it has our logo again. It said, it's the fast that eat the slow. Okay. So what that means is that you want to help as many people as quickly as you can. You don't need to be the biggest giant, and I'm just big. All you have to do is be faster than them. Try to help more people. My goal is to help as many people as the 3 Publixes that are around us, even though we got ours 4 months later.
Okay, there's that competition in you, right? I was asked this question, and actually it was Sandy, my guest from last week. Mm-hmm. You're told, and a lot of people don't know this. I know this because I just had a mammogram, and the first thing they said is, have you had the COVID shot? Because you cannot get a mammogram or any of these ultrasounds for like 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
6 weeks, right? So
yes.
That's, and it was scheduled to have some, now she knows she can't.
They're just being safe. It's really,
What are they afraid of?
because it's radiation sometimes, or they're doing
Oh,
different
okay.
things. So depending on what they're doing, if they're squeezing you, and they have different methods, but they just rather be safe. They rather say you relax. A lot of times they might think that you might be feeling under the weather, and they don't want you to come in and potentially expose anybody else.
Another question. Okay, so there's the Moderna, there's the Pfizer, there's the Johnson & Johnson. Now, so everybody's always nervous about the second shot. Who's going to get sick and who's not going to get sick? And have you found that like maybe more people get sick on the second shot with one company or the other?
You will get sick on it. You have I want to say 80% chance of getting sick on the second shot. But they all kind of, no matter which one you get, you can still get the same sickness because it's your genetic makeup. Because your body is recognizing it and fighting it off, however it does that. I'll give you an example. My twin brother got his second shot already, and when he got his second shot, it was on a Friday. And he said he was perfectly fine. Saturday evening, he said he went from hot to cold. So he was hot, he took a cold shower. He was like, cool. And he said, I'm hot again, he took another cold shower. Then all of a sudden, he was freezing. Then he had to take 2 hot showers, and he said he went back and forth, and he got uncomfortable the whole night. Just hot, cold, and then he was upset because he was trying to call me.
He
telling
had
me
to
that,
yell at you.
Hey, I'm sick. Well, you told me to get the shot. The second shot got me sick.
Yeah.
And he said it was just uncomfortable because he couldn't get, you ever been so hot, you're like taking everything off and you're turning the AC down, and then next thing you know, you're like, what is going on? You turn the AC back up and you got a blanket on and you're just shivering. And he said he drank some tea and he just couldn't get comfortable. And then finally, he said like 3 o'clock in the morning, he finally just dozed off. And the next morning, he was fine. Went to dinner. He said he even went and had a glass of wine.
But Pastor Craig, he was very, a little bit of confusion and dizzy. And it was interesting because he has heart issues, so his doctor told him he had to take the shot. Another person I know, their heart doctor told him absolutely not.
So, and it's so weird because it's hard to predict everybody. So it's like, how active are you? What other issues do you have? Are you a diabetic? Are you on blood pressure medications? All these things.
Why, blood pressure medication makes you sick?
No.
It
it affects
my husband's on blood pressure.
Blood pressure medication slows the heart down, and it also relaxes you because it has to, because your blood pressure's up. So what ends up happening is you kind of have this more relaxed feel, but your blood isn't circulating as fast as it would if you're hyper. Like hyper people tend to have higher blood pressure. And they're always like, I want to go do something, I'm busy, this and that, those kind of things. So if you slow the blood down, or if you slow the metabolism down, it's completely different.
But you're not, so why are you saying that? I mean, I guess I lost you.
No, because
I mean, because I want to know, is my husband going to get sick on the second shot?
No, but what ends up happening is when you take other medications, it affects how your body responds when you take something else or do something else.
So someone who takes no medication has a better chance of nothing happening?
If they
I'm
don't,
asking because if somebody
if
very
they don't
important.
have any underlying conditions, and that's the thing, half of us don't know the underlying conditions that we have. And what I mean by that is that, especially once you get over the age of 40, and you start to realize that, man, I used to play ball and jump and dunk, and now it's really hard to get up there. And I played for an hour and my knees hurt. What is going on? And as that starts to, you start to realize that I can't do all the stuff I used to do. Climbing the stairs was easy. Now my knees hurt. I don't understand. So what ends up happening is that your body responds to with inflammation and different things like that. So when you get something that's going to affect your body has to recognize, okay, this is happening, my knees are hurting, or my heart's slowing down, and now I just got a shot, and now I'm getting my second shot, and now I feel extra tired. Like, I don't know.
I've heard of that. A lot of people are just really tired.
Yeah, because don't forget, your body's saying there's something going on, we got to get ready, so it shuts down things that they think is not essential. So you're going to be more like, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to lay here. And I have no energy.
Have they, well, another question I was asking you is, okay, with the 3 different doses, the Moderna, the Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, have they seen more people get sick on the second shot with one versus another?
No, it's pretty much spread evenly throughout. So I'll give you an example. Let's say we gave 1 million shots of each vaccine. So we gave 1 million shots. They might say, okay, we had 400,000 that said they had a reaction where they felt extra tired in one. Let's say Pfizer. Then you had Moderna where they said, okay, it wasn't 400,000, it was 350. That's still 400,000 to me. You know what I mean? And then you would say to Johnson & Johnson, well, I didn't really feel that tired, but my arm hurt for longer because my buddy got the opposite shot, and he said with 2 days he was fine, but my arm hurt for a week. And that's the kind of spread you see, but I call it insignificant when you look at the grand picture. So I tell people all the time, if you think you're at risk, if you have an underlying condition, if you think you can infect somebody that you love, like my mom, a few years ago, she had a mass that they removed and they found that it had cancer cells in it. So she went through a round of chemo and she went from 150 pounds to 88 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
Lost all her hair, and you know, my mom to me walks on water. And when that happened, it like devastated me. Like I wasn't myself for at least a month. And when she got better, even when she got better and grew her hair back, my mother had long hair past her shoulders my whole life. And now her hair can't grow that long. And I know it changed her. But it was important because that cancer cell could produce and go anywhere and cause other issues. So the last thing I want to do is come to Sunday dinner and give her a hug or a kiss because I got exposed at work and I got my mom sick. So I just want to make sure that she's protected. And that's how I think. Like, who are you infecting? You know, honestly, I believe that my teenagers would be okay, but my little ones would be in trouble.
You know, my 1-year-old grandson got COVID.
That was so bizarre.
There's 4 in the family. The mom, the dad, and the 1-year-old got sick, but the 3-year-old didn't get sick.
That happens all the time.
But the 1-year-old was more sick than the parents.
Yeah, yep. And once again, everything's new. That body's never seen that before. Like, what is this thing? Where does it come from? And how do I fight it? And that's why it gets scary. But the most important thing is practice safe habits. Make sure that either get yourself vaccinated or cover up. Or I have some people say, I'm fine staying home. I don't want to be exposed. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. But the more we vaccinate, the more we build up a better immunity. So it's going to be eradicated. We're going to be talking about in 10 to 12 years, we're going to say, you remember what happened in 2000?
But I want to know when we never have to have that mask on. I hate the mask more than, I mean, like, I hyperventilate just when I have it on, or if I see somebody else. They make me nervous when I look at them.
Well, let me put it in perspective for you. Try flying. I just flew back from Tennessee for a 2.5-hour flight with a mask on, and I was claustrophobic and panicking all at the same time because every time I breathed in, I saw the mask sink in because I was taking deep breaths. And I was looking like, so when the stewardess wasn't looking, I pulled my mask down and put it back up. And
yeah, I'm supposed to fly. I want to fly to Michigan with my grandson, you know, who's a baby, but that mask thing, I can't even think of, can I do it for 2.5 hours? I don't know.
We have a mask, I'll bring you one.
Don't give me the one, that's right, you said you have to have the air going through
There's one that pushes air up. The problem isn't the mask, the problem is you feel like you're suffocating. My mother had the same issue, and she had to travel, and I gave her one of the masks, and it blew air up in her face, and she said, I felt so comfortable because I felt like I got fresh air. Like,
but I want you to tell me when I don't, all right, if I'm taking a shot, and I get the second shot, and then how many weeks after your second shot till you're supposed to be okay?
2 weeks.
All right, 2 weeks. Then why do I have to wear a mask?
There are some states where you don't have to wear it now. And I think we're all gonna get there, but the most important thing is we have to build up this immunity. So what you want, I give you an example, right? When flu season comes around, right? Very rarely when, let's say for kids in school, you have that one kid that gets sick in class, and maybe 2 other kids get sick, but the other 28 are fine. That's what's gonna happen with COVID in the future. So you might get 1 or 2, and they go home and they're sick for a few days, and then they're okay. But everybody else would be like, nothing happened, I don't get it. And then, and personally, as a pharmacist, I know about 23 families, 23, 24 families, where half the family got it, and the other half did not. And they said, oh, we quarantined. If you're in the same house, it's really hard to quarantine. Like, I kept my husband upstairs with the other 2, and me and my daughter stayed downstairs, and we didn't get it. And I just think it's based on genetic makeup, and like, I had a guy that was really, really hyper. And this is really, really hyper, high energy. And I asked him, I said, are you afraid of getting COVID? You don't think it's a concern? You're in your 50s, and he said his doctor, and he's a skinny guy, he said his metabolism is so high, he said he would kill COVID as soon as he got it, because he would just burn it off. You ever see those guys that are just, man, how you have all this energy? And he's like skinny as a rail, but he's in good shape. He's like, man, do you exercise? Nope. Just, he's like.
Well, my son David, the firefighter that went through the fire thing, but he quarantined in the house and nobody else got it.
Yeah, see, and honestly, that's the best way, but it's not 100%. And that's the thing I always tell people all the time. Be aware, it's not 100%.
You know, here I am so against, I was so against the shot, but then, you know, I do get a flu shot. I got my shingle shot with you. I got my pneumonia shots with you, which I really think everybody should get a shingle shot.
Oh, yeah.
You
Especially if you're over 60. 5. Well, not you. You're 40. You're fine.
Yeah.
So
I don't like him anymore. I'm finding a new pharmacist.
No,
you can tell me.
the thing about it is, as you get older, when you get something like that, it's so devastating because they are on a nerve.
Yeah. Oh.
And if you know anything about nerves, if you pulled a nerve, if you cut yourself open and looked at a nerve, you could blow on it and you would scream in agony. So when you get shingles on a nerve that exposed, it's the worst thing ever. You can't put clothes on.
No.
I had one guy that had it straight down his back and it made a left around his waist.
Few people in my family have gotten it, and that's when I'm like, I'm getting.
It's
terrible. Because once you get it, you can get it again. Pastor Ron, my mentor, he used to get so bad down his face. Oh, it was horrible. And then, of course, I had pneumonia.
Yes.
So I know how bad it can be.
Yes.
And don't get me on that, because that was because of Obamacare that I got pneumonia. Because back then, remember, we weren't going to lose our insurance. Don't get me started. I couldn't see a doctor. I got sicker and sicker.
Well, what happens, especially with pneumonia, just like a lot of the different diseases, you think you're okay. Nah, I'm fine. You're like, I feel a tickle, but I'm fine.
I was at a place, I'm going to actually say, I was home. If my daughter-in-law hadn't come over with a breathing machine, I don't know if I'd have made it. I couldn't get air. I was like, what a frightening feeling when you go to breathe and you can't put the air in your lungs. It's horrible.
So one more thing I want to talk to you guys about to understand the new vaccines, so you guys have a better concept about it, right? And it's probably one of my last points real quick, is that because of this new therapy and how we do it, one of the things we say in the sports world, innovation, they give you a reward for it. You might get a plaque saying, you're so innovative, but execution is worshipped. And that's the thing that people have to understand. This technology we had for over 15 years, and they were able to execute so well, and that's what makes it so different. So traditional vaccines, when they try to make it or reproduce it, they have to like put it in something to make it incubate. So they have to put it in like an egg, a chicken egg. So that's why a lot of people get the shots, flu shots and different things like that. If you're allergic to eggs, you can't get that shot, right? Or they have to put in some type of mammalian cell. So basically they have to put it into some type of cell where now if you have allergies of some sort, you can have an issue with trying to get that vaccination. This, very, 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 very rare, less than 0.01%, because it's totally different than the traditional vaccines. So you don't have to worry about any allergies like that. You don't have to worry about, hey, I'm asthmatic, and I have a serious heart condition, or I had cancer shot without it affecting you.
What about people who say, okay, there wasn't enough time, so that's why they don't think it's
Well, here's the advantage
true.
of this, because it's dealing with the messenger RNA.
Oh, okay.
You can do it, you can study it and make it make sense a lot faster. So here's some advantages. It's easy to manufacture and make, and it's easier to tweak. So you know one thing about viruses, they can change and mutate. This, you can tweak it very easily to replicate what the change was. So I give an example. Let's say in November, they decide, hey, listen, there's a new strain out. And if you notice, there's a couple of new strains out, I think in Canada and some other countries, but it's not really affecting the US like that, because we are tweaking it. And this has a component part of it that can help block that. Maybe not 100%, but enough for it not to bother you. I call it the karate. I don't know, as a kid, I grew up watching the old
Karate
Jackie
Kid?
Chan movies and stuff like that. You ever see, he was like the young kid that didn't know anything, but then somebody killed his older brother, and now he knows karate and he can go fight, and he's fighting these big guys, and all of a sudden he's standing there with one hand, he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's how this vaccine works. It allows you, even if it's a strain that came out of left field and you're not aware, it can still be like, block, 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 got it, ha ha, you cannot fight me, I am invincible, or I can stop you. Boom, it gives that power punch and then goes to the side. Or I always say to people, you can always tell when you're getting sick. You ever wake up and, man, I got a sore throat, I don't know what's going on today. Oh my gosh, I hope I'm not getting sick. and then you drink some tea, or you go to work and you eat a healthy lunch, and then you have a nice dinner, and then the next day you're fine? It's because your body recognized it so early, and it gives you an early warning, like this is happening, and then if you take care of yourself, it boom, goes away. Especially if you're drinking enough fluids. Like I said before, most important thing is that big cup that's half full of dirt. You just keep flushing and flushing and flushing. And I had one patient tell me, well, how do I know if I'm drinking enough? And I said, well, how many times do you go to the bathroom? If you're going to the bathroom 10 to 12 times in one day, you're flushing your system. And think about it. If I got exposed
So everybody's
right now,
going to get up in church 10 times. There's going to be a
Yep.
line in the back.
If you, well, I had one guy say, I do that anyway. I got a prostate problem. So I tell people all the time. So all you have to do is keep yourself hydrated, and your body will do the rest, because it'll flush it out.
All right, so we don't have to, some of the conspiracy theories are
Oh my
that
gosh,
the
there's
government,
so many.
the government is trying to control us, trying to change our DNA, trying to. So what would you say to those? Because a lot of believers talk that way.
Here's the thing I try to tell people all the time. If you think the government's trying to do something to you, if they were trying to do something to you, you wouldn't know till they'd done it. It wouldn't be like I can figure it out because I'm as smart as they are. I used to have this joke, right? I had my first boss tell me, when the first cell phone was invented? I was like, I don't know, 80s, something like that. And he would be like, no. He said in World War II, we had cell phones. If you remember, when they were on the battlefield, they had a phone. Hello?
Oh,
and they were able to call. I didn't, really? I had to go back and look it up. I'm like, oh my God, they did have phones. But the average person had no idea. And they said, yeah, in World War II, I had a phone. We had this pack. It was a big battery pack with it, but we were able to call back and tell them what was happening. And that's how the government works. They do stuff so far in advance, you would not have a clue. You might have a chip in your head already because you had it when you were born. They gave it to you then. You wouldn't know.
No, we're not taking those chips, Damien. Now that's one thing I'm going to stop you. If I come in the pharmacy and you go, you really need to take this chip, I'm going to say in the name of Jesus, no. Damien, you've gone too far.
No, I'm saying if they were to do something, and I tell people that all the time, do you think the government is like a bunch of idiots are running? We do have some idiots, don't get me wrong.
That's not part of the show, okay?
Don't get me wrong.
Don't get me on that one either.
No, in government as a whole. But if they were to do something, if they say, here's our next plan, that means they implemented it in 1990. You're just figuring it out now. Think about that. When they do stuff, you're just figuring it out now. And they had this plane, the stealth, the military had this black plane, the stealth, whatever, and somebody saw it and they said, oh, look at it, and then they brought it out. Yeah, we had it. They had it for 10 years. By the time we knew about it, they had it for 10 years.
Yeah, but we didn't know about this coronavirus.
The coronavirus was something that came out of left field, but they were always aware of it. Okay. And that's the thing people don't understand. There's shows, there's movies. You can look up, there's a clip from Barack Obama talking about COVID happening like 6-7 years ago. Look it up, it's on YouTube.
Okay, then why? Well, that's a whole other show.
Here's the thing.
About the China thing.
Here's the thing.
I like calling it the China virus.
Here's the thing. And it's not a thing. It's like saying somebody can push the button and cause us to have a World War III or whatever. And these are things that can happen at any given time. I give you an example. Look, I'm a big Star Trek guy. So you watch Star Trek as a kid and you see all the stuff they're doing. We're starting to do that stuff now. And back then it was like, no way.
Say that about the Jetsons.
So just think about it. So I always try to tell people, just stay in your bubble where you can live comfortably and you know that this is a beautiful life and help somebody. Don't worry about all the other stuff, because the government's mission is not to scare you or endanger you. They're always looking to help you, even if they don't come across that way to begin with. So you can't look at it like, I can't believe they did this to me, or I can't believe they're doing this to us. And those kind of things happen. But if you want to make a difference, be a part of the government to make the difference. That's what I tell people all the time. That's why we go up to Tallahassee and talk to I'll give you a quick story before we got to go. 2 years ago, because of COVID, we didn't really go last year, but 2 years ago, we went up to Tallahassee and we spoke to a congressman, and I won't mention his name. He was a young congressman, and his wife just had a baby, and I told him, and I was telling him that, one of the biggest problems is that big organizations, the big companies and corporations will make you use certain pharmacies. So it's supposed to be free enterprise. If you make me have to go to this place only, then what happens if I can't get to that place? then I suffer. And then he was like, well, why would we do that? And I was like, because you guys vote on it. And he said, my wife just had a baby. We were going to Publix forever. And I went there and they said, they don't take our insurance. I have to go to CVS. And he was like, CVS is like 15 miles from my house. The Publix is literally in the plaza at the end of their development. And he said his wife was so upset, she called him hysterically. And you mean to tell me I voted for that? I was like, you voted for that? He was like, can you not tell my wife? Because she was upset. She got a new baby, and she got to drive for 15 miles to get a prescription because she can't go to the pharmacy that she's been going to the whole time through her pregnancy.
Well, now, before we close, I have to ask this because certain people have been asking me some questions about this. Okay, there was other drugs that were, not looked at that they could be possibilities, and that's I'm going to say it wrong.
Go ahead.
Ivermectin.
That's one.
All right, and hydrochloroquine. All right. So tell me why. Do you think we should be using those drugs?
Okay. So when you have to talk about drugs that do different things or how they help or how they work, a couple things you have to put in perspective, right? One is pharmacy and medicine is called the practice of. So what they do is everything is trial and error. See if this helps, see if this works. So what ends up happening with a lot of these drugs that have a modality, a part of it that can help certain aspects, help with mucus, or something that can help with inflammation or something like that, yes, in theory those will help, but what ends up happening is most physicians, what they start doing is start thinking like that. Okay, if you're coughing, I'll give you a cough suppressant and see if that helps. And then if you're sneezing, I'll give you something for allergies. And what ends up happening is they'll give it to 100 patients and you'll have half that said it worked wonderfully and half that said it didn't do anything for me, I'm still sick and now I gotta go in the hospital. So what was happening, a lot of these, there's about 12 actually, where, azithromycin was another one where I think it helped. I gave it to my patients, none of my patients got sick or died. And hey, that's great, but definitively, they can't say definitively this is gonna work. So I'll give you an example. What we look for when you're trying to use a medication, that let's say you had that thing full of gasoline. I know if I light this match and I throw it there, 99% of the time it's gonna light because fire and gas, boom, there we go, right? You don't wanna say, I got a little water, I got a little stuff, and it should light. It's a 50-50 shot. Maybe a light because it hit the wick there, but maybe it won't. And that's what was happening. We can't definitively say, and nobody wanted to do the studies. To do a true study costs anywhere from $5 to $50 million. And you have to put in the time and say, I have proof, I gave it to 5,000 patients, I had 4,000 patients that had good results. So they were just doing trial and error. And that's what physicians do. And if you grew up in, especially people that grew up in small towns, they had that one physician that was an older guy that knew all the answers. You came to him and he said, yeah, just take this. One of my first movies I watched as a kid was It's a Wonderful Life, and I thought it was amazing with Jimmy Stewart. And if you remember in that movie, he was a little kid working in a pharmacy. And the pharmacist was mixing stuff and got busy and he was doing stuff and he was running around and he grabbed poison and poured it into a medication and told little Jimmy Stewart to go deliver it to this house because the kid was sick, but Jimmy never delivered it. And he got in trouble where the owner yelled at him, was slapping him, different things like that. But in A Wonderful Life, they said, okay, you never existed. So because he never existed, in that movie, the pharmacist gave it to the kid and the kid died and the pharmacist went to jail. So what that means is that, so basically what that means is that everything has a purpose and everything can work or not work, but it's all trial and error. So to say that, okay, everybody that gets COVID is gonna get that drug because I know it works. You can't definitively say that. So if you definitively say that, you're gonna hurt some people instead of help them, where we could give them something else or put them in the hospital to get some breathing treatments, or maybe it's as simple as hydrating themselves or taking a lot of different antibiotics, whatever they would need, depending on what the symptoms were, if it was just congestion or they got mucus or something like that, or some people are just weak. So the thing is, don't try to cookie cut and say this works if you can't definitively say that, because that's when it gets scary, because you're not helping, you're kind of hurting.
I guess maybe some people feel like, well, why didn't they do more research on that?
They could have, but who's gonna pay for it?
Okay.
So here's the thing, if something is so cheap, nobody wants to pay for it, because there's no money in it for them. Why am I going to give $100 million to go do that, and I'm going to get 10 million back? I gave $100 million. I'm only getting 10 million. Most people won't do that. You know, we could ask Jeff Bezos if he would. He's the kind of guy that won't be a big deal to him. And people were even upset with the conspiracy theories because of Bill Gates, saying, "Oh, he helped do this."
Well, yeah, I watched a few of those. I had to start to wonder about Bocce and Bill Gates together.
Well, here's the take home message: is when you start to make the conspiracy theory argument, always try to figure out what's in it for him. Somebody says he wants to do that to try to make more money. Does Bill Gates need more money?
No, I've heard he wants to control the population. He wants to control people.
Why?
And he also thinks we're overpopulated, so that he would like us to have less people.
Right.
So that's what's been said.
That's what's been said, and I actually read that somewhere too. But why would he think that? How many kids does Bill Gates have?
I don't know.
I think he has what, 3? 3? And you know what he's leaving those kids when he passes? As much money. Bill Gates is what, a billionaire? Each of them gets a trust with $25 million, and that's it. And all the rest is going to charity. So I'm like, well, why would he do that? And you know what his answer was? You just need enough to be comfortable or try to do what they want to do in their life, but they don't need enough to be ridiculous. So what Bill Gates has been doing, and he has several foundations, he's been giving money away and helping as many people as he can. And and I don't know if he's sincere with it, but that's what he's been doing. And there's a lot of rich people that try to do that. So I always say, to each their own.
Yeah.
Don't make it where it's something that you're trying to read into it, because you can't understand it. You just try to figure out, is he doing the right thing? Is he helping people? I don't know. I saw a couple of his charities, and it looked like it, but that's what the surface looks like. And just
So
go with
it's
that.
not for us to judge at this
Right,
moment.
exactly.
Well, this has probably been the longest show we've ever done. We usually go 45 minutes, so there's so many more areas I really could have gotten into. We probably could have done you a few weeks in a row. So we may have to talk to you again. So I appreciate you rushing over here, having such a crazy day. I thank you for being such an amazing pharmacist to me and friend, and just appreciate you so much. I speak blessings over Atlantis Pharmacy. And if you don't have a pharmacy, go over and see Damien and Sean and make Atlantis Pharmacy a part of your family. So God bless. Always remember God's amazing grace. Tell somebody about Jesus. We'll see you next week for Hot Topics. Blessings.
Thank you. I was going to tell you.